All information in this program is known to be accurate at the time of recording. Any commentary by the host is for discussion purposes only. Anyone labeled a person of interest by the host or family has not been charged with a crime. All suspects charged with crimes related or unrelated to a case covered are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Opinions and views expressed by the host do not represent views of the families or sponsors of this program. Hi, welcome to Grimm Media News. I'm your host, Steve Stone. This week here at Grimm Media, the theme for what we're doing is a call to action. A call to action in a lot of cases that we've covered, a lot of cases that we have yet to cover. And that includes me. There are some cases that I think are so easily solvable, and that I don't think that there's a lot going on to do that. I spoke a few weeks ago about why I hadn't been covering Summer Wells' case. I said at the time, and I still believe it today, that there are a lot of people speaking for Summer. And, however, it's also my opinion that there's a lot of things that it's being reported, but it's not being reported, if that makes sense. You know, this beautiful little girl has been missing, almost a month now. We're coming up almost a month. Summer being missing. There's just a lot of stuff going on in her case that not only is disturbing, but it kind of doesn't shed a good light on the parents, on the mom or the dad. A lot has come out since her disappearance. Her father's domestic violence history. And in a recent interview that the mom did, I didn't think it was a good interview for a multitude of reasons, which I'm not going to go and get into now. One of the things that's really disturbing about Summer's case is some text messages that the mom, Candace, had with a 15-year-old young man. There's a lot of things in Summer's cases that has rabbit holes, and those rabbit holes lead you to a multitude of theories and speculations. What I'm about to show you, though, is fact, and it concerns me. This is a text message from Candace Bly, which is Summer's mother, with a 15-year-old boy. And it's disturbing, and it's odd. And you may have seen this, you may have not. But again, I have to point this out because I think it's relevant to Summer's case. I don't know what's going on in this family, but I know that what should be focused on is not being focused on as far as the welfare and taking care of a child. Candace says in this text message, something happened before this text message where Candace responds with who? Your hand? And the boy here, yep, Rosie Palm and her 5 sisters. Candace replies to this boy, and her brothers. And then there's his response. And then her response is, no, bro, I don't bleep my homies. Now, we're talking about the mother of this young girl here. She's missing. We don't know where she is. Over a month, but we're talking about an adult woman who is having what seems to be a conversation, sexual in nature, talking about masturbating a 15-year-old boy. This is an adult woman. It's disturbing. The second message, it just kind of follows up with, the boy says, well, I'm not you. And then it kind of loses its punch where I really not making heads or tails of what exactly they're talking about here. What should Candace be saying in here? And then I'm going to tell you what you should be saying is I don't speak to 15-year-old boys like this. That's what she should be saying, but she didn't say that. She did not say that at all. The behavior, in my opinion, is not only reckless, it's despicable, but the optics are bad. The optics are really bad. I want to show you that I want to tell you rather that there's much more to this case than meets the eye, and these little snippets. And again, I'm putting this back up here. She's talking about an whether it's masturbatory act, whatever, with a 15-year-old boy who we protected. Obviously, this is not a kosher conversation to be having with a 15-year-old kid. And it goes back to what is going on in that family. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to attack this family by any stretch of the imagination, but something is wrong here, okay? And it should be about this little girl here. There's something wrong. And Summer, beautiful, beautiful child. And somebody knows something. She was last seen June 15, 2021, again at 6 p.m., wearing gray pants, pink shirt, might have been barefoot. But this isn't, the other thing that doesn't make sense about this case is this isn't the only person related to Candace that's gone missing. I'm going to tell you about the story of Rose Marie Bly. Rose Marie Bly went missing on August the 21st, 2009 from St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin. Now, she's classified missing endangered, white female. She was born on 9/16 of 1987. She'll be 33 right now. She was 5'10", 110 pounds at the time she went missing. She had a white tank top, green V-neck sweater, blue jeans, and flip-flop sandals. This was touched on by the media in the very beginning. And again, is it coincidence? Is it just bad luck? Two people in the family missing. There's so much that you could get into in that regard. I will say that with Rose Marie, in her case, the relationship with her husband was troubled. Police were called to the home at least once that we can find out to intervene in a domestic violence incident where Bly's husband accused Rose Marie of slapping him, and she accused of putting her in a headlock and banging her head on the ground. He had previously filed for divorce in June 2009, but that divorce was withdrawn after he and Bly reconciled. Bly's husband passed a polygraph test, and he is not considered a suspect in her disappearance. His divorce petition was granted in 2010, and he has sole custody of their two daughters. About a week before Rose Marie went missing, she had an accident where she fell off a horse, and there was some kind of a bruising or damage. She told her mother she was having some headaches after the accident, and her mother advised her to go see a doctor, but there's no evidence that she did in fact see a doctor. And Bly's mother has speculated her daughter became disoriented due to this injury and wandered away. Again, there's no evidence to support that theory. And again, we can't speculate either way. We just don't know. Her vehicle was found 5 days later in Grantsburg, Wisconsin, in a parking lot typically used by over-the-road truck drivers. And again, we don't believe these cases are related necessarily, but it's just one of those things where you've got Rose Marie who's missing, you've got Summer who's missing. It's just bad luck. Summer Wells, she's 3 feet tall, 40 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes. Again, last seen at the home, according to stories, on June 15th, 2021, at approximately 6 p.m. She was last seen wearing gray pants, a pink shirt, and was barefoot. If you have any information on the whereabouts of Summer Wells, please contact Hawkins County Sheriff's Office at 423-272-7121. Or you can contact me. You can email me, stevestone@thegrimtruth.com. Again, stevestone@thegrimtruth.com. And I will be happy to get the information to law enforcement. Rose Marie Bly, she was 21 at the time she was missing. She's 33 now. 5 feet tall, 110 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Last seen leaving her residence in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin, en route to Crushing, Wisconsin. Her car was found 5 days later. If you have any information on her whereabouts, please contact the Polk County Sheriff's Office, 715-485-8362. Again, 715-485-8362. Or email me, stevestone@thegrimtruth.com. And as always, if you need to, you can remain anonymous. I'm going to be looking into both of these cases in the coming weeks. I want to cover them. I've decided that just to, especially with Summer's case, I want to dig a little deeper into what's going on in this family and cover the case. And I definitely want to cover Rose Marie's case as well. And we'll be doing that here in the coming weeks. So please look forward to that. Check into that. Next up, we have a case that we have not covered on the podcast, but we have been in contact with the family. One of our volunteers has been in contact with the family. That's Michael Sinotte Jr. from West Kingston, Rhode Island. He was 22 when he went missing. He'd be 24 now. He went missing June the 13th, 2019. White male, brown hair, brown eyes. He was 5'11". He was last seen about 2:04 a.m. on June 14th near the West Kingston post office. 3 days later, his car was found near the Great Swamp Management area there in Rhode Island. Now, what is good about this case and what we had, there's an Indian tribe, and again, no disrespect there, but they call themselves the Nagasat Indian tribe. They've been very accommodating, and they are allowing a team of searchers to go out on July the 31st at 11 a.m. to search for Michael and any clues relating to his disappearance. And I want to say that, you know, we covered a case a couple of weeks ago with Jesse Conger, a missing veteran whose car was also found on a Native American land, and they're not being very cooperative. This is a total different case here. This Indian tribe's been very, very accommodating, like I said, and they're really wanting to help any way they can to ease the mind of the family and see if there's anything that can be found in the Great Swamp area. And again, we want to say thank you for their cooperation. Huge when people are working together for a common cause, and that is to find Michael Sinotte Jr. So if you have any information on Michael's disappearance, please contact the North Kingston Police at 501-294-3316. Again, 401-294-3316, extension 8211. Michael has been registered in Amos. And again, the family wants answers. And if you guys have any information, please give them a call, or you can email me, stevestone@thegrimtruth.com. So again, there will be a search July the 31st around 11 a.m. and we will have more details as it gets closer on anybody in Rhode Island that wants to help search where the meeting place is. We'll have all that information for you, and then we'll probably get that to you next week at some time, or this week. We could do that as well. My next case, you've heard me talk about so many times, and I get a lot of questions on it, and so I need to address a couple of things. And that is Andrew DeWeese. Andrew DeWeese, this case I've worked on for 5 months now. And it was a wonderful and a monumentous experience for me when I was able to take all the information that I had gathered on Andrew's case and forward it to the state police. And we're going to update this information so that we can contact, you guys can contact the gentleman on the case, and I will also give you his number as well. But Andrew's case has been just one of those that has really been difficult in the extent that information was very, very tight-lipped in the very beginning. And as we worked it and talked to so many people, we had those, we started getting answers started trickling in, and we started getting information that we didn't have, information that wasn't this rumor that his brothers had something to do with his disappearance, and that hogwash. We started actually pinpointing down specifics and people's names were being involved, and so it was wonderful to have that information given to the state police, and we're glad that they're working the case. And I want to stress this to anybody interested in this case who's been following the case or family members. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. We have to let law enforcement do their job, and that's investigating the case with the information that they were given by us and by other witnesses. I do not know when, nobody knows when this is going to be finished up. We don't know what's transpiring now, because now that it's in the hands of investigators, we have to kind of take a step back. And I'm positive, 100% positive, that the people involved in the case now are working it with Andrew's best interest, the family's best interests, and moving forward, they're going to be the ones tackling the case. Of course, I am going to stay on top of it. I'm going to have my thumb on it, because this case means a lot to me. It took a toll on me, and I'm not going to give up on Andrew. However, this brings me to a segue that I really want to speak about, and I'm not using a script to speak about it, because this is something that I think needs to be said from the heart and not written. There are a lot of people out there in Andrew's case that I miss you, dog. I live. Dylan McGee, I want to bring him up. Dylan McGee is one of these guys that, man, he has a lot to say about Andrew being missing. And I'm not going to read his entire post, but on Facebook basically saying, I miss you, I think about you every day. Hope you found peace. Now, here's the thing about this message that bothered me is in this message, and I'm not sure how much he follows what we've been doing or what but I'm just curious if Andrew has found peace according to Dylan's post there. What does that mean? Do you know something? And there's a lot of people out there in Andrew's case, and all these cases that we're going to get to, that really sets me off, and that is, did you really love Andrew? Did you really do all you can for Andrew? I mean, let's ask Nicole Boyler if she did everything she could. I mean, I don't think she did a whole lot. Matter of fact, she went on a trip the week after Andrew went missing. Went on a trip. Thelma and Louise. She was partying it up. She wasn't looking for Andrew. So, Dylan, I don't know you, man, and I'm calling you out because if you know more, if you knew something that was going on, and Dylan is your boy, he's your friend. I mean, in your message here, he was your friend. Maybe you should, maybe if you know something, you should say something. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't know anything, but in your post, I mean, it says, I effing miss you though. Think about you damn near daily for a grip, homeboy. I hope wherever you found its peace. I mean, I don't know if you messed that up or not. And as for the last time you told me I love you, well, I effing love you too. I'm sorry I I didn't tell you. I mean, you didn't tell him, and I understand that. It's a kind of a guy thing. You don't necessarily tell your guy friends you love them, but I'm just reading your post. I think you know more. I think that you know something, and if you do, you should probably let people know what you know. As I'm just getting a vibe from your post that you might know a couple of things, and you've got this kind of quasi nonchalant attitude towards the whole thing. And I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I don't think I am. The other person I want to talk to is Travis McGrew. Travis McGrew, if those that follow in Andrew DeWeese's case, Travis McGrew was in jail really about the time that Andrew went missing. He was doing some time in jail, and there was this big old rumor going around that Josh and Elijah and Drew got into this big old fight. And the big rumor was that that they caused Andrew's demise, which I don't buy into it. I just don't. I have information that tells me that's not what happened. But there was a lot of rumors going around that Travis was involved, that he had something to do with it. He was, and again, I don't necessarily prescribe to that way of thinking. I think other things were involved. Needless to say, though, is that Travis, again, is one of those guys that, drew his family to him. If you know something, if you have an idea. Now Travis went online and he on Facebook a week or so ago and was saying he was going to come after people that were bad mouthing him or calling him out for possibly having involvement in Andrew's case. And again, nobody knows. Nobody. I personally don't think that's the case. But I want to talk to you guys. I'd love to interview you as a journalist. I'd love to interview you. But see, here's the thing. There are people right now in Andrew's case doing this. They're chirping, doing a lot of chirping, and I don't know. I don't think that the chirping. I think you guys need to be quiet. If you're gonna talk, you need to talk to the authorities. Or otherwise, just stay quiet, because you're stirring a pot that you don't need it to stir up. And I think at some point we need to make sure that Andrew's case is the most important thing. It's not make it about grandstanding and suing people or Mr. McGee here making statements that I don't know, don't really make much sense, other than he wished he'd have said he loved him. Hey, I got Dylan. If you love Andrew, the best way to show and prove that you love him is to say what you know. If you know something, you need to come forward and say something. So, with that being said, Andrew's case again is in the hands of the state police, and I will get this flyer changed at my earliest possible convenience. And we talked about it with the detective running Andrew's case, that we needed to make sure that all the information that is out there, it gets put out there, and that it needs to go directly to him. I think that's the most important thing, because at the end of the day, he's the one investigating the case. And I will get that number updated to you guys at my earliest possible convenience. I will get that number to you. But again, the best thing for us is to know that his case is being worked on, and it is a great feeling to me that we were able to get that far, because 5 months ago no one was looking for him, no one was doing anything, and now we definitely have that going. So I want to thank the state police, Arkansas State Police, for digging their heels in on this and getting the work done. I know for a fact behind the scenes that they're doing what they need to be doing, and we're going to let them do that. So please, any questions about Andrew's case, I just understand that at this point we can't really say much more than what everybody already knows, what I've said in other videos. You can check those out on YouTube, but we're we're going to lay low and let them do their job. In the meantime, what we're going to do is support Andrew's family, Shelly and his brothers, sisters. We're going to support you guys, and we're going to pray that things happen, but they happen right. Because remember, if people are behind, and I'm just saying that for legal matters, we want to make sure it's a solid case against those people that had something to do with Andrew's disappearance, and that way they can go to jail and stay in jail, and they'll never be able to get out, and that's the important thing. Next case that I want to discuss this week, that again, it's a part of our need to do more, our call to action this week, and that's Lil Joe Baehn's case, Marshall, Texas. He's got a $10,000 reward on his case. Over 20 years, this man's been missing. He's been missing from his family, his sister, 20 years. Now, it's a sad state of affairs where there are people that know more than what they're saying. And I'm going to release some information today that may get the ball rolling on this. First things first, if you've followed this case before, and again, we did a podcast on him. That link will be in the description below. All of the cases we're talking about, the podcast episodes will be in the link in the description here at the bottom of the video here. This is Jason Coley Briggs. Jason, here, or Coley as he was known to Lil Joe, he was his buddy, his hunting buddy, his best friend, his mon frere, as they say in French. But he hasn't done a damn thing to help look for Lil Joe. Nothing. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't lifted a finger. He spent one day in the early beginning passing out flyers, and that was the end of his cooperation. He moved since then, and he's gone dark. Now, I personally don't think that Coley had anything to do with Joe's disappearance. I think he knows something. I think he knows a lot. And he was going to talk to me. We were all set to talk. I had sent him a list of questions I was going to ask him, and we were set up to do the interview. Then he calls me and tells me he's not doing the interview, and then blocks me. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to talk to me, Coley, but the problem is that I believe you know something. You know more than you told the cops back then, and I think that you're scared. I think someone is got their thumb on you, and you're afraid to talk. The other person in this case that needs to talk is Angela Phillips. Now, Angela was dating Coley at the time Lil Joe went missing, and on top of that, they were living there. They all were living at the house. Lil Joe was living at the house. Angela was living at the house. Coley was living at the house. And Coley's, I believe Coley's mom was living at the house. And this BS story that a guy who, Lil Joe smoked cigarettes, okay? Now, I smoked cigarettes for a long time, chewed tobacco a long time. I wouldn't leave the house. I would almost have a panic attack if I left the house without my nicotine. Had to have it. There's no way in Hades Lil Joe leaves his house that night after he gets this phone call, and he's going to leave without his cigarettes. At the end of the day, you guys know more, and you guys aren't talking. You're not opening your mouths. You know something. Grow a spine and help your buddy. Okay, it's as simple as that. And Coley, you know more. You know it all. I mean, I don't know. This guy was your friend, right? It was your buddy. And what are you doing? You're taking a dump on his memory by not saying anything. I mean, what is going on? Angela Phillips, what is going on that you guys know more? I know you do. I know that you guys weren't just going to bed that night. There was a party at your house. There was a bonfire at the house. Things were happening that night. It wasn't just everybody was getting ready for bed. And that was the story. Oh, we were getting ready for bed. Lil Joe got a call. And he left angrily. That's not what happened. We know there was a party there. We know that your story that you gave is BS. And there's more to what's going on. I'm calling you out. And there's more than I know on top of that. But I'm going to wait. I want to wait and save that for we're doing another episode on Lil Joe in the coming weeks. And I want to save that. But Lil Joe has been missing since January 25th, 2001. It is 2021. It is over 20 years. And his sister doesn't have anything. Nothing to go on. A lot of rumor, innuendo in a small town in Marshall, Texas. Marshall PD. Don't let me forget about you. What are you doing? What are you doing in Lil Joe's case? Are there any searches going on for Lil Joe? Any leads? What's going on? Is the crime rate in Marshall, Texas, that outrageous that we're not taking steps into working on Lil Joe's case? 20 years. 20 years, man. It's time. Today's the day to change that. Let's work these cases. Let's work the witnesses. Let's go back and re-interview. Police re-interview all the time. Re-interview. Take the notes that were given 20 years ago and go off of that re-interview. I don't understand. The time is now. The time for Lil Joe is now. The time to talk to Coley, re-interview him is now. Let's re-interview Angela Phillips. Because their stories are BS. They weren't all getting ready for bed and going to bed. There was a bonfire at that house that night. There were other people supposed to come by. And Lil Joe just up and left. Time to re-interview Marshall PD. It's time to re-interview. Joseph Lil Joe Boehm from Marshall, Texas was 6 foot, 130 pounds, brown hair, hazel eyes. He had a rebel flag on his right upper arm, scar on his forehead. Those of you in Marshall, those of you that are familiar with this case, let's put pressure where it needs to be on the police. Contact Marshall PD 903-935-4540 if you have any information on the whereabouts of Lil Joe. And if you don't have information, let's call him and ask, what are you doing? What are you doing? What is going on in this case? It's time. It's time. There's a $10,000 reward for little information on Lil Joe. It's time to act. And it's time to act now. Let's get started. Another case that needs action now, not later, is Christopher Sanders. Christopher Sanders just had a birthday. His kid's just graduated. He's been missing since August the 13th, 2017. 5'11", 190 pounds, 5'11". A native Texan who went for a walk. He went for a walk and he never came back. No, he didn't. He didn't go for a walk. I don't believe he went for a walk. I've interviewed his wife, Angela. I've interviewed all the neighbors. I've interviewed his uncle. And he didn't go for a walk. I don't believe he went for a walk. Cody Penny, where are you, man? Where are you? You talked to Chris last. You were the last person to talk to Chris. What was said in that long conversation? It was a long conversation. I know it was long. It was a long conversation, and you only said about 30 seconds worth of information. So what was on the phone? What did you guys talk about? I know we're not going to hear from you because you're spineless. I get that. I get that you. This is your family member. This is your relative. You guys are blood, and you're doing nothing to help Chris. You're doing nothing to help Sandy. What I don't understand. What now? There's only one reason why. Actually, I've said this before. There's two reasons why you're not saying anything. One, because you don't care. You don't give a crap about Chris Sanders. You don't care. Or 2, you know something. I'm leaning to 2. I'm at 2 now. I was always playing devil's advocate with you, Cody. I'm not going to call you sir because you don't have respect for your family. You don't have respect for me. And I don't care about me. It's not about me. When I've called and reached out and you told me to go fly a kite, but those weren't the words you used. I think you know more. I think you know a secret. I think you're hiding behind a secret. And if it upsets people that I call you out, I apologize. I mean, no disrespect to the family, to Cody's mom and his family. I don't mean any disrespect. But there's 2 people that have to be... There's a lot of people that need to be called out here. I don't think that Cody's story... I don't think what he said originally to people is accurate, 1. 2, Angela, Chris's wife, puts it on Cody for the reason why she didn't come up there right away. Okay? Says that Cody told her, nope, don't come up. We don't need you to come up. Chris will be back. He's fine. So that's what Angela says. And you're more than welcome to listen to the podcast there, the second episode I did on Chris. A third one's coming up in the coming weeks. But Angela puts it all on Cody. Cody told her that he's fine. He's okay. So the ball is totally in Cody's court now, because what did you tell Angela not to come up because Chris was okay? Or did you know Chris was okay? Did you know where Chris was? These are great questions. But we'll get back to Cody later. Monahan's police, they did an interview, and they did an interview which I thought was kind of ambiguous, I guess, or contradictory. I'll say contradictory. They did an interview that I'm going to be using in an ad campaign coming up here in the coming weeks. They did an ad campaign saying that we are not going to stop until Chris Sanders is found. Hey, Monahan's PD, when are you going to start looking for Chris Sanders? He's been missing since August 13th, 2017. How many searches for Christopher Sanders have been done? There's a lot of area to search. I've looked at that map over 100 times. There's plenty of areas to search for Chris Sanders. How many searches have been done? 0. That many. 0. 0 searches. I think a drone search was done. I think. But I think that's... A drone search is not a search. Okay? The canopy, especially if you look at several places, including the national park there, or the state park. There's other places to look. You're not going to stop. When are you going to start? Okay? When are you going to start? The Texas Rangers. When's that going to happen? Now there's a gentleman there that had the case, and I don't understand what's being done in Chris's case. What I am going to announce today, and I'm doing it for Lil Joe also, is I'm going to be doing an ad campaign, which I've been working on, and we've been creating an ad campaign to put pressure on those that are not doing their jobs, or that are not speaking up, or that we're not searching. We're going to be doing an ad campaign for both Chris and for Lil Joe, and for others. I'm going to probably add Ira Briscoe to that. And we'll get to that in a minute. But to finish up on Chris, we need to start doing something. Now, there are a lot of intangibles about searching for Chris Sanders. And it seems to me that all we got to do is start calling some people and see if we can get some searches done. And I think that speaks volumes. And last but not least, Philip Breeding is the person who has been, I guess, the go-to on Chris's case. Mr. Breeding, what's going on with Chris's case? Can you give us an update? Can anybody other than that swanky lieutenant there in Monahans who did that interview, can you guys give us an update on what's going on with Chris's case? I'd be more than willing to speak with you guys, and anything that we can do to get this going. I think it's a great time to start working together, networking together. You know, I've said many times that sometimes, you know, we have to stir the pot a little bit. And you might go, wow, Steve's being rough today. I'm not being rough, but I'm just stirring the pot. I'm doing what I can do with my platform, with my voice to try to get things moving. Things aren't moving. When you're in a stagnant case, you look at Little Joe's case, 20 years. Okay? Christopher Sanders, 4 years. That's an eternity. Things that Chris would not miss, or it just doesn't make any sense, and we're not doing enough. And so, why I wanted to focus in on Little Joe's case and Chris's case today, is that they have a lot in common because there's no movement on them, and the witness list might be small, but at the end of the day, I think the cases are mishandled. From jump, they're mishandled. Angela's allowed to take the motor vehicle home and all that. It was never dusted, and of course, I blame it on her because it was a welfare check, not a missing person. So she didn't even have it set up correctly, honestly. So it was a welfare check. Oh, and then he's missing. Oh, but then we don't tell Sandy he's missing for days later. And that's the other thing, Cody. You didn't bother telling your aunt that her son is missing. Everybody waited. Sandy was the last to know. I think it's time to start putting. So let me just say this in closing on Chris's case. It's time that we start stepping up. It's time to find for action is now. Christopher Sanders went missing on August 13, 2017. I said it 1,000 times. 5'11", 190 pounds, reddish blonde hair. He has tattoos. His top teeth are missing. He just had a birthday. He just missed his birthday. He missed his daughter's graduation, his son's graduation. Things that Christopher Sanders went. This is my friend Christopher Sanders. I'm not going to stop looking for you, Chris. And I'm going to put the pressure on everybody to do what needs to be done to get the answers that people need. What are you waiting for? What are we waiting for? Another person like Chris to go missing? And a small Moynihan's is you can run right through her. Moynihan's. I don't understand what's not being done. And I'm not, and in no way am I saying that there's a conspiracy here. There isn't. There's not doing anything. Because I just believe they don't care. Well, it's time to start caring. I care. Sandy cares. Karen Knuckles Phillips, who is Chris's best friend, 30 plus years, she cares. Cody, do you care? Don't look like it. Chris also has a $1,000 reward for information. It's $1,000 right now. We'll see if we can't get that up. We're gonna in the ad campaign. That's one of the things that we're working on, and see if we can't get that up, and hopefully we can. And that's one of the things that we're gonna desperately work on here in the coming weeks. I want to close out by saying that we get these cases, and I pour a lot into them. And the one thing I don't like is the fact that people know so much, and they don't want to say anything. Whether it's a lot of times, people use, "Oh, well, I'm scared." I got to tell you, courage comes from any place. Like hope, for example. We talked a lot about hope yesterday in our prayer message. courage can come from the craziest places. I know courage because courage comes from a witness who is, in a case I've worked, is a witness who has so much courage that this person is going against all odds, against the stories that are being told. This person has come out of the shadows and is putting it all on the table, not for that person's notoriety, because that person's remained anonymous and will remain anonymous forever as far as I'm concerned. But this person has come forward in a case and is helping find a missing person. So I don't want to hear, yes, I understand you can be scared, and yes, I don't live where you live, then there's reasons to be scared, but there's also reasons for courage. And if I can help you with that, I will. But people like Cody Penny, it has nothing to do with courage and him handling all his issues. Everybody has issues. Sandy Sanders has issues. She has a son that she hasn't seen in 4 years. That's an issue. Anyway, if you have any information on Chris Sanders' case, please contact the Moynihan's Police Department. Give them a call, 432-943-3254. Tell them Steve Stone sent you, and that information is dire in Chris's case. We need to find him. $1,000. There is a $1,000 reward for any information leading to Chris. I want to just say that I get on these rants, and they are soapbox rants because I care. I'm passionate. I'm passionate about people I've never met before. But when you interview their families over and over again, you build relationships with them. You feel. I can never personally experience what they're feeling inside. I sympathize with them. And when they're angry, I get angry. When they are frustrated, I get frustrated. Because these things are so easily, things can be done, like searches, for example, or manpower. It is commonplace in many states, including Florida. I've said this before and I'll say it again. You can hand over a case to a reputable private investigation firm that can help you. If you don't have the manpower, now, I'm sure you're paying them. I'm sure you're going to have to pay them. But I know that happens it happens here in Florida. There are agencies in Florida that rely heavily on reputable private investigation firms, companies, professionals that have the manpower to dedicate to these cases. So maybe that's something that law enforcement needs to look into. I don't know. But I think it's something that should be looked in for all these cases. For Lil Joe's, Chris Sanders, Ira Briscoe. And I want to touch on that real quick. Ira Briscoe's case, and I'm discussing it because it goes to what we're talking about. Ira Briscoe's case is one where there's more can be done in Ira Briscoe's case. They're not doing it because they're waiting. Oh, well, we're working on getting the dogs out. Well, working on getting the horses out. Well, all you got to do is pick up a phone. All you do is pick up a phone and say, hey, we need your help. But law enforcement isn't doing that. So more can be done. Finally today, as I get off my soapbox, I want to discuss the case of Will Polk and April Jones. We do have an update here in this case. And a couple of weeks ago, their remains were found, a skull and some hands were found on the property of K2, Keith Coleman. And those remains were tested, and they've been identified of those of Will Polk. Now, again, every step of every bit of information that comes out of their case is something new that the family has to deal with and go through. And we can only imagine that how hard that is for them. But we know nothing more than what I've just told you. And as this case goes forward, they're the family's going to need a lot of support because they're going to have to go to court. They're going to have to face at least several people that have not come to terms with what's happened. For example, they're going to have to face the people that are charged with these crimes. But there's more than that in this case. There are other individuals that had knowledge of what happened. There are other individuals that knew something and didn't say anything. They knew that they were murdered. They knew that they had been murdered. Some of them knew or no, but they're not being charged with anything. Now, I have had my battles with Quitman County Sheriff's Office before on the handling of these cases. And I'm speaking directly to the chief deputy here, Mr. Peter Clinton. If somebody knew something about what was going on with Will and April, they should be charged with that crime. What is the reason they're not being charged with that crime? Oh, because they gave you information on the case. What information did they give you on the case? Has it been helpful? From what I'm hearing, it's not helpful. If anybody had something, no one should get a deal in Will and April's case. And I'm going to tell you why they shouldn't have gotten a deal. Because Will and April's case has gone on for so long, and everybody knew. And what's funny is the people that knew about all this knew the family. Either in some way, shape, form, or fashion, they knew, and nobody said a word. Nobody said a peep. And, of course, we know that they were scared of good old Keith Coleman. Sure, you know. I might buy that, maybe. But the ones that aren't getting charged, I think, in my opinion, and I'm not speaking for the family. This is just my opinion, and it doesn't mean squat. But this is my opinion. Not charging these other individuals and whatever deals they got, I think it's pathetic. That's my opinion. I think anybody that had anything to do with Will and April Polk, or Will Jones and April Polk, anybody that had knowledge and they didn't report it, you should charge them. Charge them. You can charge them. So you're not charging. So how about this? So if the deputy there, Chief Deputy Peter Clinton's not going to charge them, then maybe we should start putting pressure on the district attorney to charge these four wonderful people for what happened to Will and April, because they knew something. They hit a crime. Any one of them could have anonymously dropped a dime and said, "I know something." They'd have remained anonymous, obviously, because their names are being kept quiet now. Imagine that. So I can't honestly think that these four individuals that haven't been charged, if their names are being kept out, then they would have been kept private if they would have just called and said something to somebody. Hey, I knew something bad happened. I want to say something. So it obviously wasn't in their soul. There's no goodness there. So they should be charged. So the district attorney that's handling the case of Will Polk and April Jones, I implore you to sit back, think, and ask God, should four people that knew about a crime be charged? If they're not being forthcoming with information, which they should be anyway, they should be charged no matter what with a crime, concealing a crime, conspiracy after the fact, whatever fits the narrative. They should be charged and they should do time. We're not asking for life imprisonment here, a year and a day. Because if you do something wrong, there are consequences. Period. And there's consequences in this case. And four people aren't facing consequences. And it's not okay. They need to go to jail. For whatever the time period that the law in Mississippi states, charge them with a crime. And they can be charged with crimes. There are crimes that they can be charged with. And that needs to happen today. But that's all the information we have on Will Polk and April Jones. And I know this has been more of a soapbox episode than news episode, but I have to do what I can do for these families any way I can do it. And I guess when I say news, we give you updates and news, but you're going to get my opinion no matter what, because that's what I feel I need to do. It's what God tells me I need to do. And again, I'm not trying to agitate those in law enforcement. What I am trying to say here is that there are people suffering right now today that need answers. The families of Christopher Sanders, Ira Briscoe, Joseph Bain. Go to the litany of people we've covered, the 28 stories we've covered so far, whether it's be on the podcast or here, that don't have that, they don't have closure. They don't have, and forget closure as a word. They don't have any answers whatsoever. They're not getting anything. They're not getting updates. They're not getting anything. So the time for action is now. Moynihan's PD, Marshall PD, the district attorney handling the Will Polk and April Jones case. You know, it's time to act. Let's set examples on what we can do to change the way the missing are handled. And let's start now. Let's start today. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Grimm Media News. This episode of Grimm Media News brought to you by the Grimm Truth Podcast YouTube channel. We cover stories on the weekly Remind Show, Grimm Media News here on the podcast channel. So if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of Grimm Media News, which we are going to do live every Monday, starting today. Every Monday, we're going to do an episode of Grimm Media News. We're going to cover the cases that we've gone through in the past or other news, and we're going to profile things that are coming up this week. And so, again, if you haven't done so, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave us a comment. We'd love to interact with those of you that follow these cases. Coming up on Wednesday, we're going to have the weekly Remind. We are going to be talking about the case of Shemaya Little. She went missing in Louisiana. I'm working on an interview with that. And our weekly Remind case of the week is going to be that of David McAllister. We covered his case a few weeks ago on the podcast, and we're going to have his mother, Marilyn, speaking with us about a recent bike ride they did on behalf of David, and also we're going to discuss her thoughts on what's going on with David's case, and that's coming up Wednesday on the weekly Remind. On Friday on the Grimm Truth Podcast, we are going to be profiling the case of Michael Gage Johnson, and then Teresa Davidson Murphy. It's going to be your second episode. We have a lot of information on that case as well that we're going to be divulging on the podcast. So please follow us all week. Stay tuned next week as we're always bringing you information on the missing, because the missing matter. I'm Steve Stone. God bless.